Bibi Fahodie Black family, race first. We are live, School of Urban Philosophy. This is our third broadcast. Thanks for all of you for joining in. So tonight we're going to get it in. We're going to talk a little bit about race first and try to put it in context for many individuals that are conversating or conversing rather about what race first is, what it means, what it's all about. We hear a lot of people talking about race first. We hear a lot of people pushing back against race first. A lot of people are putting forth what they believe to be the argument that race is invalid, race does not exist, race is insignificant. Many individuals are putting forth that argument. And for a point of clarity, I'm referring to Black people. Many Black people are pushing back against race first. So tonight, what we're going to do, we're going to have that conversation. We're going to talk about race first, what it's all about. So as you're tuning in, do me a big favor, please. Share this video, like the video, subscribe to the page. Let's build this page up so we can get this type of content out to a larger population. But at the very beginning, let me define race first. And I'm going to define race first several times throughout this broadcast. But at the very beginning, allow me to define race first as race first have been reconceptualized and reintroduced. Let me digress. I am not the originator of the term race first. I did not coin the term race first. Most people are aware of race first by way of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. But the race first ideology comes out of the 1800s. Our ancestors have always pushed and propagated a race first ideology, a race first thought process. Going as far back as Martin Delany, Henry Highland Garnett, Alexander Crummell, Henry Bishop McNeil Turner, even Julia Cooper, was considered a race woman. They all pushed race as this central thing in our struggle. So I wanted to say that I haven't originated anything. I'm just coming in the same spirit as these other trailblazers that I just mentioned. And like I say, most people are most familiar with the term race first by way of the Honorable Marcus Garvey through the book that was written by Dr. Tony Martin. The book is called Race First. But I'm not speaking of race first in that context. What I am attempting to do is to build a movement around the race first mentality, the race first mindset, the race first thinking. And I am defining race first as follows. Thoughts and behavior that places the social, political, and economic interests, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the Black race first to facilitate African sovereignty. So if you notice, I'm connecting race first with sovereignty. But I'm saying that it's thought and behavior. We cannot just profess and don't do. It's thought and behavior that place us first. Case in point, when I say social, I'm speaking about the social institution, the social sphere. Education is a part of the social sphere. Healthcare is a part of the social sphere. You know what I'm saying? Family dynamics, relationship, child rearing. These are the things that fall under the scope of social. So I'm saying that we need to place our social interests first. Therefore, we should be thinking about how we are going to educate Black children before we are thinking about sending Black children off to these schools that's destroying their minds. A race first mentality says that we should be in charge of the education of our children. That's what a race first mentality says, that we should be in charge of that. The youth that we have given birth to, we should be in charge of the education that they are going to receive. A race first mentality says that political If we want to talk about what it means to be political in terms of governance and regulation and management of resources to direct a people, we should be in charge of that. We should have our own political agenda. Even if you are working within the realm of electoral politics, if you are within the realm of electoral politics, you should be there with a race first agenda. There's no way you can be sitting at the table talking about the regulation and the management of resources or a nation or a government, and you're not speaking about that from the point of view of the race that you belong to. That's crazy. That is insanity, because the purpose of electoral politics is for you to move into that arena to access the power of those unique offices and the resources of those offices so you can leverage that for your own people. That's the basis of it. That's the reason why they contend for political office, to get access to the resources. For who? Not for everybody, for their political group. That's the basis of it. So if you're not sitting at the table speaking from the point of view of Black people, then you already are politically incorrect. You're politically incorrect if you're not thinking in terms of how you're going to organize the resources for Black people. And that's the same thing for economics. The management, the distribution of, the wealth of a nation, the resource of a nation, all of those things, how things are being distributed and consumed. If you're not thinking about that in terms of how it's going to benefit Black people, then you're wrong. Your thinking is wrong. So race first in context. Race first is never about the other. And we allow people to make us believe that race first is never about the other. Race first doesn't exist because of the other. Race first is actually a natural instinct that have just been put to sleep inside of us. It's a survival mechanism. Anything that's alive seeks to preserve its own existence, first and foremost. And that's what race first is. One of the laws of race first is self-preservation. That's a law of race first. So it's not about the other. We don't even have to think that way. When you hear race first, we automatically think it's about the other. That's because we have received training from the other, and part of being trained by the other, they have put this fail-safe inside of your mind. So anytime you hear anything that's designed to advance Black people, the fail-safe click on automatically and you push against it. Anytime you hear anything that's about the advancement, the betterment, the upliftment of Black people, the fail-safe just go off inside of you. And all you start doing is start using all of their logic tools, all of their analytical techniques to argue against why this thing that's for Black people, you want to argue that it's against somebody else. The other is not even within the equation. Listen to the definition of race first. Thoughts and behavior that places the social, political, economic interest, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the Black race first to facilitate African sovereignty. The other is not within that equation. It's not within that equation. But we hear race first and we automatically start thinking about the other. That is the fail-safe. And that's the reason why it has to be a serious educational overhaul, psychological reorientation that must take place for Black people. Right? We are not thinking seriously enough about what have happened to us and what is continuously happening to us in terms of our thinking. Our thinking. We are quick to push back against anything that's designed to push us forward. We're looking for the fault in it. We're looking for to find out that this person is a liar, this person is a deceiver, this person is fake and phony or fraud, or this isn't going to work, or this is wrong. Even the people that's out here saying, let's make sure Black people are taken care of. The first thing we got to say, well, what about all other people, right? All other people are not your concern. All other people are not the concern. All other people do not concern themselves with black people. Look at how black people are being slaughtered in the states of the United States of America. And all these other people who have these governmental apparatuses, are they rallying for black people? But we're so quick to always talk about the other. What about other people? Other people, right? When you are trying to get free, when you are striving for a type of liberation that's going to lead to a type of sovereignty for your people, the other is not your concern. The other is not your concern. And that doesn't make you wrong or bad. But we think we're wrong and we're bad when we hear that, because that's the fail-safe that have been conditioned within the minds of us. We are trained to find fault with any effort that's designed to push us forward as a people. We are trained to find fault in it. We are trained to seek to undermine it. We are trained to over-critique it, right? Rather than trying to figure out how we can assist it. That's the fail-safe. Because the more we work against ourselves, the more we work in the interest of the other. Let me say that again. The more that we work against ourselves is the more that we work in the interest of the other. And this is how I like to define the insanity. I like to define insanity like this: to consistently work against your best interest, to consistently work in a manner, to act, think, and be in a manner that's diametrically opposed to your best interest. That's insanity. When everything that you do is against your best interest, that's insanity. Because, like I said, naturally, species seek to preserve themselves. They seek to elevate and propagate their species. But if we are consistently working against our best interest, that's a degree of insanity. And we have to talk about that. We can't step over it. We can't push it off to the side. We have to address it as it is. We have to ask the question, why are we so prone to find fault in programs, activities, initiatives, and endeavors that are designed to advance black people? Why is that problematic? Why do we pathologize our work? Why do we pathologize the work that we do for us? And we're not doing anything any different than any other racial group. And yes, I said race, because race is real. Race is real. And we need to stop saying that race doesn't exist. This is the argument. We say this, not me. This is what we say. Race doesn't exist because race is just a social construct. That's what we say. Race does not exist because race is a social construct. Even in that argument, you are acknowledging the existence of race. But since we are what? Regurgitating and repeating something that we heard from a quote-unquote scientist or intellectual, we think we just said something that makes sense. Listen to it real slow. Race does not exist because race is a social construct. Therefore, it exists as a social construct. And if it is just a social construct, does that make it less invalid because it's a social construct? And in fact, if it is a social construct, does that mean that it has no impact in the lives of African people? The argument is illogical. Race is real and it's operational in the lives of people that exist on planet Earth. And race is here for a very long time. It makes us extremely foolish to act as if race does not exist. It makes us foolish to keep putting forth arguments that try to relegate race beneath class, caste, and all these other things, right? White folk have organized a racial caste That's what they have. And yes, they will fight, they will claw one another, they will destroy one another, but they are organized around you and I's continued domination. And they are organized on the basis of whiteness. And you can argue, well, white people didn't exist until this year. You can use all these fancy arguments. That's okay to use them. But if you look at the history, and you look at it with objective eyes, and you look at it from a place of agency, you're going to see how Europeans have always organized around what it means to be white. However they see it, however they define it when it comes to you and I. So yes, race first in context. Race is real, and we must organize around the principle of race. Why do I say this? Because historically, we have organized around the principle of race, and it has worked. Marcus Garvey, why do you think the whole Tony Martin wrote the book Race First? Because he analyzed Garvey's movement. He looked at the ideological underpinnings of Garvey's movement and concluded successfully that Garvey essentially had a race-first movement. And on the basis of race, Garvey was able to do the mighty work that he'd done. On the basis of race. He didn't organize you around class. He organized you around race. He didn't organize you around anything else but race. And our people understood that very clearly. And he organized around that. And because of that, he was able to build one of the largest black national organizations that we know of to this day. On the basis of race. And he was successful. He was successful. Yes, in hindsight, we can look back and we can make critiques. We always can do that. Someone can look at us in hindsight and critique us. However, in his time period, what he was dealing with and what he did was successful. He organized black people. He stood black people up. He gave them pride. He gave them self-esteem. He gave them purpose. He gave them mission. He gave them a vision. He sent them on their way. He made connections. He demonstrated what needed to be done and how to do it. He was successful, and he did it on the basis of race. He did it on race. Now, I'm not an Islamic person. I'm not into religion. But in order to make these points that I'm trying to make, we need to look at history. The Nation of Islam is organized around race. The black man is God. That's the basis of it, right? The black man is God and the black woman is a goddess. You see what I'm saying? The black man is, and the black woman is the mothers and fathers of civilization on the basis of race. And they organized around that. Look at the Black Power movement. You know, Black Power. They organized around race, called Black Power. Now go back into the 1800s. Henry Highland Garnett. It was around race. David Walker's appeal, he appealed to blackness, Negroes. Organized on the basis of that. The black abolitionist movement, when they began to break away from the white abolitionists, they began to organize themselves around what? To being black. Being black. Even when you get to the 1900s with the Henry Sylvester Williams, he understood that. And that's why he convened the Pan-African Conference in 1900. So I'm not pulling anything out of the sky that history doesn't tell us is valid. If we are students of history or students of our story, we can see this. So race first is the way forward, because we're not organizing around the same enemy. We're not doing that. Some of us are in the bed with the enemy. Some of us think the enemy is our friend. We're not organizing around that. We're not organizing around the fact that we've been slaughtered. So what's left? We're not organizing around quote unquote religion. That have confused us and messed our minds up more than anything. So what's left? Our blackness. Our blackness. And we must be the definers of who we are. Dr. Wade Nobles teaches us about power. Dr. Wade Nobles, and I'm a paraphrase. I'm going to quote him, but it may be a paraphrase because I haven't, said this quote in such a long time. But Dr. Wade Nobles, power is the ability to define phenomena and have others to accept your definition as if it was their own. And that's all white people have done since we've been around them. All they have done is defined for us, classified for us, codified for us, categorized for us. That's all they have done. And since we are not thinking about defining for ourselves, classifying things for ourselves, conceptualizing for ourselves, we only operate within the parameters of their definitions, their categories, their codes. That limits us and it handicaps us. So that's the reason why when people say race don't exist, you are repeating what white people say. But race doesn't exist now because white people have used it as long as they needed to use it to organize and step on you. So when they realize that you began to wake up to the power of race, now they're telling you that race doesn't exist. Don't focus on race. And what are we doing? We're listening to them. And even if you are parroting or saying something that you did hear a black person say, I can guarantee you that black person heard a white person say it. That black person heard a white person say, race doesn't exist. Race exists. It must and have to exist on our terms. That's what I'm trying to get us to understand. We're not worried about what they have said and what they are saying. Race exists on our terms. This has always been the way for African people. We determines what's valuable in our lives. We define who we are. We define our place within this scheme of things that we call the universe. No other people can do that for us. So we can't let them tell us that race doesn't exist, right? Race will exist as long as we deem it fit to organize us, to move us forward. In any classification we choose to assign to it. We can do that. They don't have no power over us to tell us what we can and can't do in terms of organizing and classifying and codifying our lives. Who are they? You don't give them that kind of power. You don't submit yourself to that. You don't think that way. You don't behave that way. That's the thinking of a slave. That's not even an enslaved person. That's a slave that thinks like that. A person that's incapable of thinking for themselves, that's always looking to the next person to define everything for you. I'm talking about in terms of outside of your race. Now, in terms of us looking within our race, using our elders and our Sebas, our Nwalamus, and using our great people to conceptualize and define and work out things for us as a people, then that's great. We can do that. But in terms of looking outside of ourselves, to listen to them, to tell us who we are and how we should define ourselves, don't go for it. Don't go for it. Do not go for it. Race is real. You see what just happened to I don't know where it's at, what state it was in, but it came across my timeline. A young black brother, I believe, he made a mistake and knocked on the door, something to that degree. You know, I don't want to mess the story up, but at the end of the day, he was shot by a white boy, by a white man. All right. And the question could be easily asked, you know, do you think he would have shot a white boy? You know, we might say, no, he wouldn't have shot a white person. We may even argue that he shot the young black boy because he was black. People may argue it that way, but I don't argue it that way. I don't argue it that way. He didn't shoot our young brother because our young brother was black. He shot our young brother because he's white and he knows that he's a part of a system that's going to make sure he's okay. That's why. He shot him because he's white, and whiteness is the pathology. Black is not the pathology. Black is not the problem. It never had been the problem. It never will be the problem. We have to better understand who we are. He shot him because he was white. The police. Now, some say this right here. Well, we got black pigs that's shooting black people. How do you explain that, Bobby Motep? And I say this right here all the time, right? A black pig in the service of a white pig is nothing but an extended pig. Right? Simple as that. A black pig in the service of white terrorism is an instrument of white terrorism. So he should be treated the same way we treat any other one of them. We're not going to say, well, man, you got to explain, you know, black police is shooting black people too. I just got finished explaining that. Because of the education that most of us have received, we think like the oppressor. Malcolm X said it best. Be not deceived by those who look like you, but think like the oppressor. Be not deceived. So I'm not deceived. So we got to get out there thinking we're always trying to find a way to invalidate, this racist system. We always trying to find a way to justify this racist system by saying things like that. It's a foolish argument. We say this, well, what about all the black people that's killing black people in the inner cities? Baltimore had 350 murders last year. What y'all gonna do about that? Was it 350 convictions of black men? Or you just assuming that every black man that's murdered is murdered by a black person? The thinking is twisted. We automatically assume that it's us. There's no evidence. There's no proof. It's just an assumption. If it's 350 murders in the inner cities, where there's black people, then black people did it. That's a sad state of reality, black man and black woman. I don't assume that. It can be 600 murders in this city. If you're not arresting and proving without a shadow of doubt that black people are responsible, I am not going to assume that black people are responsible. Now, do we have issues that we need to work on within our communities, within our families, within our relationships? Yes, we do. But because we have issues in our community, relationships, and families, does that justify slaughter by another people? Does that justify it? That's like a person saying, that's like me walking down the street and I notice that I see a family and I see the brothers, they arguing, going back and forth. Does that justify me going over there and wiping them out because I see them, working some things out? Don't justify me doing that to them. So let's stop saying because we have issues, it justifies what these folks are doing to us. It can't. That's insanity to think that way. And we got to do some serious work in terms of how we think. We need study classes all over this nation. And that's one of the things that Dr. Asa Hilliard always talked about. We need some serious study classes. We need political education. And listen, excuse me. And study classes, political education, and most importantly, we need something that's going to focus on our psychological state of being. We need something that's going to focus on our psychological state of being and our spiritual core. Our spirit has darkness on it because we have been inside this perverted land too long, and we have picked up and adopted the ways of savages. We have watched savages and concluded that these savages are the model citizens, and we have taken on their behavior because they have defined themselves as being the most civilized. So since they have defined themselves as being the most civilized, and you're watching them, you're watching their movies, watching their TV shows, you're looking at their magazines, you're watching their cartoons, you're watching them at work, you're watching them when you go out, you want to be where they're at, you want to go to their restaurants because you're consistently watching them. The image of whiteness have been embedded inside of you. And so subconsciously, you emulate them. You emulate white people. You think like them. You feel like them. You sense like them. You argue like them. And you reason like them. So therefore, you have become them. We got a lot of work to do. And we're not doing the work. The work is personal. Yes, we have a unique situation as black people, no doubt. Most other people, when they fighting against the oppressor, that's what they can do. But we different, man. There is no precedence for our situation. We got to do two things. We got to do. We have to wage an external war against the enemies that's pushing against us. We have to wage an internal war against the enemies in our ranks, and then you got to wage a personal war with the enemy on the inside of you. Three wars you got to wage simultaneous. That's a lot of work, and a lot of us are not doing it. Some of us are just fighting the external war But our families are falling apart, our relationships are falling apart, and we're falling apart because there's no internal war that's taking place. We're not working on that dumb stuff that's all on the inside of us. We're allowing that crap to linger and lay within us and just be there. We have to transform, black man and black woman. Get some work done. You got to work on yourself. Then we got to work inside the ranks. And then you got to work external, right? We got to build ourselves up. So when I say race first, I'm saying thought and behavior that places the social, political, and economic interests, spiritual well-being, and overall material survival of the black race first to facilitate African sovereignty. This is how we got to be thinking, black man and black woman, and we got to function and operate at an extremely high level. And we have to push each other. We have to demand each other at a high level. Our intellect has to be 100% African at a high level. We have to be able to not only analyze our situation, we must also be able to analyze what's happening to us, synthesize what's happening to us, and develop solutions simultaneously. This is what we must be able to do. This is the level of the work that has to be done. So all this online stuff that's happening out here, all this gibberish, the back and forth, that has to stop. You know, if you're serious, just stop it. Just stop and just keep it moving. Just do the work. Like, do the work. And we have to understand that we need something that's going to organize us together. We're not organized nationally. We're not organized nationally, and that's the truth. That's the reason why we're being slaughtered nationally, because there's no national organization of us. So when I say race first, I am using race first in the context of a movement. I'm not telling you to abandon your organization. I'm not telling you to abandon organizational sovereignty, organizational autonomy. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm not saying come and join Bob Imhotep. If we just listen to what I'm saying, no, it's strategy. This is strategy. I'm not saying join me. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying we need to join what all of us have, because you're already doing race work. You're already working for black people. You already said that. So I'm saying, how do we organize how do we take what you're doing and connect it with what I'm doing, where we don't get in each other's way, but we complement one another. That's all I'm saying with race first. I'm saying we need an organizing mechanism. We're not organized around black nationalism. Most of us don't even understand it. We're not organized around Pan-Africanism. Most of us don't even understand it. We're not organized around African-centered, Afrocentricity, or any of the other terms. Because most of us not doing enough studying to even understand it. But the one thing that I know that we do understand, we understand what it means to be black. At the basic level, because black is deep. But at the basic surface level, we all understand what it means to be black. And we can organize around our race. If nothing else, we organize around our race, create this national network. And the national network, all it's saying is that we are linked up. And now we can tap into each other's resources if need be, and we can mobilize a little bit more better. So therefore, if we need 100 men or 100 people to descend at a particular location at a particular time, all we got to do is tap into the Race First network, and we can organize that. Because right now, we're not able to do that always. We're not able to do that because some of us still working on the plantations. Some of us don't have any finances, so we can't travel. Like, we handicapped. Organizationally, we are handicapped. So I'm trying to bring us a solution to those problems. So we can be able to do it. The Race First becomes a network. It becomes a national platform that we all can just plug into. If you're doing race work, we should be plugged into the same network. That's Race First. It's just a strategy. So the rally isn't your typical protest. So people might think that, I'm just playing on a term. I'm playing on a word with rally. It's not the protest. The Race First rally is an organized gathering to bring African people together to demonstrate the capacity to be organized. And that's the reason why the rallies are always reaching out to organizations to get different organizations involved so we can demonstrate to a larger population that we possess the capacity to be organized. That's what the rallies are about. That's the rallies. We're not protesting when I say the Race First rally. So July 29th, 2023, Baltimore City, 2 p.m., Lafayette Square Park, the Race First rally. We're not protesting Baltimore City. You know, I'm calling for all organizations in the DMV to be a part of this thing so we can demonstrate that we can get organized. We have to be organized. That's the reason why we've been smacked up all across the nation. Disorganization. We got brothers and sisters that's organizing in formations and organizations and corporations in the same cities, and they don't even know each other exist. That's disorganization. So lack of communication, there's a breakdown somewhere. We don't even know each other, right? And then we got organizations that do know of each other and just don't even deal with each other and don't even know why they don't even deal with each other. They haven't had any major fallouts, none of that. We just don't deal with each other. I just don't like how that person talk. I don't like how that person look. I don't like how that person wear his clothes. I don't like how he walk or how she talk, how she dress. And as long as we allow things like that to keep us from working together in some type of capacity, we're going to keep getting smacked across the head in the USA. Oh, too bright, right? I don't know. Might look good. I think yeah, that's a little bit better. I think I was a little dark. Yes, but anyway, that's what it's about. So the Race First movement, man, it's about organizing us. You know, how do we get organized? We got to really think about organization. Organization implies discipline, structure, ideology, clarity. All those things are necessary. You know, so let me break it down. So the Race First movement is open to Black people who identify with what it means to be Black, right? And what do we mean by Race First? And why Race First? Because through Race First, we can build organizational capacity. So what we're saying is this. At the basic level, Black people need to be organized within their neighborhoods and communities. That's going to stop intruders from coming in and running out your neighborhood. Think about it like this right here. If you organize the neighborhood, and every time an unwanted element came in, all the men in that community came out and peered on that person with that unwanted element, it's not coming back. Right? That act alone is going to deter that unwanted element from coming back. And if it come back a second time, all the men come out and they approach that unwanted element and ask it, why are you here? This is your second time here. We don't know you, we don't recognize you, and then you have no family members around. That's why you come to this particular neighborhood, right? I can guarantee it doesn't come back the third time. Right? But without that type of organized structure, without that type of organized behavior, the enemy gonna always jog through your neighborhood with their dogs, you know, because there's no reason why not to come through your neighborhood. It's not threatening to me. That's a lack of organization. Your community should be threatening. People should fear to come through your community. Unwanted elements should be apprehensive about entering into that community. The same way most of us out there that's listening who grew up in the streets, you know, if you grew up in those streets, there were certain communities in certain areas that any person could not just go into. We all know that because they knew just if you went into the wrong community, the wrong neighborhood, it's a strong possibility that you was going to be met with some type of resistance. That's how we need to be. That's called being organized. So, like I said, the Race First, we focus on 4 basic areas of organization. I'm not saying this is comprehensive. Like I say, this is just about trying to start a process to get us organized. So don't over-critique. Don't jump in and say, well, what about this? What about this? Because I told you early on, we've been conditioned to find fault. So before we hear the positive of our ideas, we automatically coming in to critique it. Because that's the training. The training is to tear us down, right? Rather than saying, you know what, I like that, man. That makes a lot of sense. Let me holler at the brother, man, and see if he thought about this right, because I think this could enhance that. No, we're not thinking that way. Oh man, he forgot to say this. He forgot to mention this. And we coming straight in to tear it up, right? So like I said, this is not comprehensive, what I'm about to say. This is just a solution. This is a method that I know can work and will work if we work it. So 4 basic levels of organization. The first one is this. Organize the community. Because Black people on a basic community level need to be organized. The second level, community people need to be organized in relationship to community organizations. Because too often community people have no clue of the organizations that's working on the ground for them in their communities. That's the second level. The third level, organizations that are working for Black people in the same locality, in the same cities, they should know one another at some way, at some level. They should have some type of organizational relationship. That's the third level. The fourth level is this. Organizations at the state level and city level should know one another at the national level to create national organization, right? Because when we have a type of national organization that breeds national consciousness. See, we don't have national consciousness. A lot of us study Dr. Frantz Fanon. We listen to what he was saying. But if you go back in Frantz Fanon and really look at Frantz Fanon, he talked about national consciousness and the lack of it because people were still caught up on what he defined at the time as being clans and tribes. I don't subscribe to those terminologies, but those are the terminologies that he used, right? But the point that he was trying to make is that they were still sectioned off at this little teeny level, and they didn't have a concept of themselves at a national level. That's us, Black men and Black women. We don't have a concept of ourselves at a national level, and what I'm submitting to us, if we work through this process of developing organization at these different levels and get some type of national organization going, some type of national awareness going, we can build national consciousness. That's the first stages towards what we're trying to achieve, national consciousness. Because once we develop national consciousness, the logical outgrowth is national identity. National identity. So it's national consciousness. Then we go to national identity. And once we develop a national identity, national solidarity is simple. And once we move from national consciousness to national identity to national solidarity, we can get to the one that's really important. National feeling. What that says, national feeling says this. It says that when you hurt in California, I hurt in Baltimore. When you are down or being stomped on in New York, I feel the boots here in Baltimore because I feel what you feel at a national level. So national feeling is what's necessary, because once we have national feeling, we get to the one that we lack all of them, but we get to this last one, which is national response. And that's the reason why any white boy tomorrow can wake up and get upset and go pick up his AR-15 and strap up and go anywhere in the USA and gun down 100 of us. And you know what we're going to do? What we're going to do, we're going to talk about it on Facebook. Man, did you hear about the white boy? He shot 100 Black people. You see what I'm saying? Blah, blah, blah. That's what we're going to do. And then you know what? When we get past 4 or 5 days, it's going to fizzle out. Some people are going to go there, you know what I'm saying, because it's national and they want pictures and stuff like that. But there's no national response to that. So it's going to die down. See, the national response could be better organized when we have a national umbrella. And then we can communicate in that national umbrella, and we can organize and know how we're going to be there. We can figure out who have the availabilities to be there, you see what I'm saying, on ground zero for the first 3 days. How many brothers and sisters can be there in the first 3 days? Well, we got 100, we got 50 of y'all, or y'all 50 got the first 3 days. Well, we got another 25, y'all rolling on the 4th day. Or we got another 50 can hit on the 5th day, y'all come on the 5th day, right? Because if to make some type of noise, you got to stay there indefinitely. You got to make them know, you know what I'm saying, like this right here, this isn't going away. So we can't just be feeling, get a little fizzle, and then it die out after 4 days. You got to stay there. And then you got to find ground zero. And then you got to figure out in that community, you got to mobilize that community. You got to be out there, right? Then you got to start organizing committees. You got to get your what? You got to get your lawyers together. You got to get your bail committee together. You know what I'm saying? You got to find some type of national headquarters that you can use. Find one of the local churches that's sympathetic. So now y'all can organize in the local churches. Now you can go out and pass out your flyers and bring the community into the local churches and start organizing around the issue that all of them are feeling. Because all of them just lost what? Lost loved ones. So now you can organize around that. So now you tell them, and now you can begin to train them on how we're going to proceed. We're going to put pressure on this place around the clock. We need 24-hour pressure. Or we're going to disrupt. We're going to disrupt the economy. Some of us are going to go to jail, no doubt. But then we got to figure out those amongst us who never been locked up before. Because y'all got to be the ones that got to go to jail. This is organizing. That's getting work done. But you can't do that when you're not organized. We don't have any consciousness. That's what this is about, black men and black women. Yes, my brother, Spico. The black national agenda grows out of the national consciousness. So you are absolutely correct. It doesn't exist. Granted we have organizations doing work. I don't want no organization to say to them that I don't want anybody to assume that I'm saying we're not doing work. We got groups that are doing work. You got Brother Biko on here that's doing work, that's stay on the ground. You got tons of organizations in Baltimore City that's doing work. 10-Day, TNAT, Bro, Soul Vibers Nation, Dr. Mott. You got people that's all over, you know what I'm saying? You got FTP, you got, they everywhere, man. Repat Nation. We got people that's doing the work. So I'm not saying we're not doing the work. What I'm saying is that we have to take the work to another level. Take it to another level. That's what it's about. How do we get to that other level? And we get to that other level in stages. We get there in stages, black man and black woman. And I just laid out some of the stages. So I most definitely didn't plan to talk this long. It's almost 46 minutes. I don't be trying to talk that long. I really want to talk briefly. And I'll be wanting to, open the lines up for questions and just conversations for anyone that's out there that may have a question or even a comment on anything that they hear. But as always, please share the video, subscribe to this channel, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and like the video. Let's do that. Let's get this content out there. The School of Urban Philosophy going to keep bringing this type of content. It's very clear, it's very to the point, and it's very relevant. And this is what we need. I'm not about a bunch of drama. I'm not trying to entertain you, and I'm not trying to make you laugh. We do too much of that. I'm not saying that laughter doesn't have a place, but that's just not who I am. I'm not the person to make you laugh. I don't want to make you laugh. I want to make you think. I want to organize you. I want to mobilize you. I want to add to your advancement. I want to get us in a better place as a people. That's what this particular channel is all about. And that's the base of the work that I do. So race first, black man and black woman. If you are able to make it to Baltimore July 29th, please come through. But the Biko, I would love to have you here, man, just, to be a part of what's happening, in July 29th. Come through, and share a message with the people. You know what I'm saying? I got space for you on the agenda. Just let me know. Most definitely, man, we need everybody here just to show that we are connected. So people can see that, like, they connect, or they know him, this, that, another. Because when our people start seeing that we are connected, we can move them more. So let's think that, like, July 29th, 2 p.m., Baltimore City, the Race First Rally. July 29th, Pine Bluff, Arkansas, 1 p.m. Central Time, Race First Rally. Tampa, Florida, July 29th, Race First Rally. Gulfport, Mississippi, July 29th, Race First Rally. You're in those areas. Like, link up with us. Like I said, this is not about you throwing your organization away. Bring your whole formation. We need all of you to just show up. We here. We want to have these conversations, to talk, to organize, so to bring some things out, how we can better show up at the national level. So I'm about to close out, black man and black woman. As always, I enjoy this time with you. Are there any questions, any comments? I haven't figured out how to bring you on yet. I know there's a way to drop the link. I know Dr. Mott be doing it always. She can just go get the link from somewhere. But, I'm still learning StreamYard. I'm still learning it. But once I learn it, I'll be able to drop the link. And then you can just come on. think it's right. Let me see. Okay. I just figured it out. So the link, I think this is it. Let's see. Let me see. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So I just put the link in the chat. I figured it out. So if you want to come on and be face to face real quick, click on that link and come on. I'll let you in, and we can, we got 10 minutes because I don't want to go past 8 p.m. Got 9 minutes and some change. If you out there, you want to come on and just, we banging out a few, please do. The link is there. But in the meantime, get the word out, black man and black woman. The Race First Rally, we need everybody to be organized around that. Get the word out. July 29th, the Race First Rally, 2023. The last week of July, we have took it upon ourselves to inaugurate 2 years ago the National Race First Awareness Week. And that's the last week of July. The last week of July is the National Race First Awareness Week. And basically, we just saying, man, hold up Race First that entire week. If you don't do it throughout the whole year, make that week the week that you hold it up, that you yell it, that you scream it, that you post, that you talk about it, that you share Race First with someone in your family, that you are putting black first, that you're reading black books, watching black documentaries, watching black movies, good black movies, you know what I'm saying? Going to black stores, going to black restaurants, just putting black first. The National Race First Awareness Week, the last July, and the last week in July. Keep that on your calendar. The Race First Rally, the National Race First Rally, is July 29th, 2023 at 2 p.m. here in Baltimore City. 1 p.m., we will be starting to organize and to congregate and gather at 1 p.m. at the Henry Highland Garnett Park. And that's located at Lafayette and Jordan Hill Avenue. On the corner of Lafayette and Jordan Hill Avenue in Baltimore City, there's a Henry Highland Garnett Park. And we start gathering there so we can walk over to, where the rally takes place at, which is at the Lafayette Square Park. So let me get out of here. Once again, please share this, like it, subscribe to the channel. Let's continue to do this work, black man and black woman. Let's get it done. Let's get it done. And for those of you out there who may listen at some point, that's doing the work, that's entering into the work, stay connected with people, veteran people that stand on principle. Because none of us can do this work blindly. You're going to make too many mistakes if you just try to do this work and you're not connected to no type of guidance. That's the mistake that's being made. A lot of people want to work, but they don't want to be connected to nobody because they feel like if they consult, that it takes away from who they are. There's nothing wrong with consulting. There's nothing wrong with talking to someone that's been doing this work and that has a proven track record of being principled and effective. You can learn so much from that person. Do not allow yourself to not take advantage of the wisdom and the insight of a pioneer in this movement. Don't try to do this just from your hip. Don't do that, And if you don't have to recreate a whole new wheel, don't recreate a whole new wheel. If you can link up and partake in another organized structure that's already existing, then seek that out first. But like I say, look for track record, principle, and effectiveness. That's what you look for. Because anybody that's principled, there's going to be a history that sustains that. If they have a track record, you can see that in history. If they are effective, you can see that also. So just do your due diligence. Don't be like, well, I don't deal with organizations. Organizations no good. That's the wrong way of thinking. We need organization. Organization is what allows us to be who we are. Our ancestors always created organizations. So don't just say we don't need organizations. Just do your due Do your due diligence. Track record, principle, meaning character, and effectiveness. Look for those three things. If you find those three things, then figure out what do you possess as a person that you can bring into that structure to enhance it. Just figure out how you can go in and help to push the work that much more further. And with that, I'm going to say a beautiful Hodier, race first, black love, let's stay up. And until the next time, the School of Urban Philosophy, we will be returning next week. And we're going to keep it, as always, straight up, straightforward, and straight to the point. A beautiful Hodier.